Have you ever wondered why so much of what Jesus truly taught feels like it was lost, buried, or ignored? Why do we only hear the same familiar words again and again, while whispers of something deeper continue to echo through time? Could it be that some of Jesus's most powerful teachings were banned, hidden, even erased? Let's go back, way back, to the time when Jesus walked dusty roads, spoke to fishermen, healed the broken, and turned the world upside down with words that burned through tradition like fire. He wasn't just giving out good advice. He was shaking the very foundations of the religious systems, calling out hypocrisy, and opening spiritual eyes to a kingdom that could not be seen with flesh, but could be felt with the soul. Jesus said things that disturbed the powerful. He told people the kingdom of God was within them, not locked in a temple. He taught that you didn't need a religious elite to reach God. You needed faith, humility, and love. He warned that the traditions of men were blinding people to the voice of God. He told the truth, even when it was dangerous. But truth, when it threatens control, always becomes a target. After Jesus rose and ascended, his early followers carried his words in their hearts and on fragile scrolls. But not everyone was ready for those words. Some of his teachings were so revolutionary, so spiritually freeing, that powerful men began to ask, what if these ideas break our control? What if the poor stop obeying us? What if the people realize they don't need priests and temples to know God? What if love replaces fear? What if forgiveness becomes stronger than punishment? So they made decisions. They began to pick and choose which words of Jesus would survive and which would be silenced. The early church began to grow, and so did its power. By the time Roman emperors embraced Christianity, it was no longer just a movement of faith. It became a structure of influence, politics, and authority. And with that power came fear. Fear of chaos, fear of freedom, fear of the raw and spiritual Jesus, who spoke to outcasts and called fishermen his friends. And so came the councils. Yes, councils, meetings held centuries ago where powerful men sat in circles deciding which books to keep and which to ban. The Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, the Council of Hippo, the Council of Carthage. These were not simply spiritual gatherings. They were meetings to control narratives, to unify power, to create a version of the faith that could be ruled. And in those councils, voices were silenced. Jesus said, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." But what happens when the truth threatens those in power? Some of Jesus' banned teachings spoke of a personal connection with God. No need for temples, titles, or hierarchies. He taught that the Spirit dwells in the heart, that every person carries the spark of the divine, that heaven is not just somewhere far away, but something that can be touched in the now, through love, purity, and surrender. But the organized church said, no, that's too mystical, too dangerous, too much like giving the people freedom to think and feel and live without needing the priests. So they buried these truths. They labeled them Gnostic, false, heretical. They destroyed the scrolls, burned the writings, and persecuted those who believed differently. But God has a way of keeping truth alive. The desert kept the secret. In 1945, in a dry cave near Nag Hammadi, Egypt, jars were discovered. Inside them, lost scrolls, ancient texts hidden for nearly 2,000 years. Words that spoke of Jesus in ways we had never heard. He said, "The kingdom is inside you, and it is outside you." He said, "When you know yourselves, you will be known." He said, "The light is within you, and you are the children of the living Father." These were not words of rebellion. They were words of awakening. But awakening is the enemy of control. Imagine if these teachings had been shared freely from the beginning. Imagine if people had been taught not just to believe, but to awaken, to search for God in the quiet, to look for heaven not just in the sky, but in each other. Why were the true teachings of Jesus banned? Because they were powerful, because they were spiritual, because they did not serve human empires. They served a divine kingdom. And so, for centuries, the church gave us a version of Jesus that was safe, tame, controllable. But the real Jesus? He turned over tables. He spoke with women. He touched lepers. He stood against rulers. He forgave the unforgivable. He saw the unseen. The real Jesus was not safe, and his true teachings are still alive, not in institutions, not locked behind stained glass, but in the hearts of those who still seek him in spirit and in truth. Now here's the question. What if the real reason his teachings were banned is because they were never meant to build walls, but to break them down? What if Jesus didn't come to create a new religion, but to awaken a new way of living? What if he didn't just come to be worshipped, but to show us how to live as sons and daughters of God? That truth can't be chained forever, and now it's rising again. You were meant to walk in truth, not fear, not shame, but truth. And when you find the real Jesus, you don't just find religion, you find freedom. So the next time someone says, "This is all there is," ask yourself, what did they bury and why? Because the truth they tried to ban may be the very truth your soul has been waiting to hear. Kindly like, share, and subscribe our channel, and don't forget that the truth is rising and is calling your name. Thank you for watching.